So CBX is Coldwell Banker National's brand new version 3.0 of their digital listing experience or digital listing presentation app. The app is available currently for download on Android and Apple devices, as well as any computer or laptop that is currently running Windows 10. We've been told that hopefully by the end of the summer or by the early start of fall, the app will actually be available, the program will be available across all devices and all computers. So currently it's just available for tablets, so either an iPad, a Microsoft tablet, or a Windows 10 based laptop or computer. Even though it is a mobile app, it is not meant to be used or displayed on your cell phones. And the reason for that is that the app is designed for you to do a listing presentation in front of your clients. And so it wouldn't be ideal to come into a listing appointment with your cell phone to display this beautifully created listing presentation that you've done in CBX. So like I mentioned, this is a Coldwell Banker National app. So in order to log into the program, you're going to need your Coldwell Banker National credentials. Some of you may or may not know that those are different than our usual CB Bain credentials. So for Coldwell Banker National, your username is typically your first name dot last name at coldwellbanker.com. If for some reason you're unable to reset your password using that username, it's always best just to call into our Coldwell Banker National Help Desk, and I'll just show you where you can find that number. The Coldwell Banker National Universal Login page, which is what you're seeing now, and at the very bottom of that screen on the right-hand side, there's the Help Desk phone number. So again, since this is a national tool, that help desk is actually located on the East Coast. So they operate on East Coast time. They do have a skeleton crew that runs after hours and on the weekends. So if you're needing assistance getting into any of the Coldwell Banker National tools, you can call at any time. Just be aware that if it's after usual business hours, East Coast time, it may take them a little longer to get to your call or to answer your question, but somebody is typically always there. For downloading the app, you're going to be going to your usual app store on whatever device you're using. So if you're on your iPhone, you'll go to the iTunes store and you'll look for the CBX application. It'll have this icon or this text and logo at the very top of it, so you know that it's the correct one. You can also find it on the Microsoft App Store as well as the Google Play Store, so that if you're on an Android tablet, you can download the app. Once the app has been downloaded, the only other thing that you need to know is your credentials to log in. And so if you can't remember your credentials, you can always go down to Forgot Password right here, click on it, and then it'll open up the Coldwell Banker National Universal Login page. And so you'll put in your username, which is typically, again, your first name dot last name at coldwellbanker.com. And then the easiest way is to click on Email Me a Temporary Password. You'll then get an email with a temporary password. You'll have to come back into the website and use that temporary password here to log in, and then change the password to one that you want. And then once you've logged in using whatever password you've set, then you'll be able to log into that CBX app. And then that helpline, if you're needing that number, is 1-877-426-5393, and it's always located at that lower right-hand corner of the Coldwell Banker Universal Login page. All right, so let's go directly into the app, and I want to thank David Sly for letting me use his account so that you guys can see the full functionality of the entire app. So when you log in, this is the first screen that you see. If you've created presentations before, they'll be saved here for you to go back into and edit and launch. One of the things that has changed, if you guys were using the CBX app before, you had control over your profile and pulling everything in. What they've done in this newest version is helped build in this automated feature where everything that is on your Coldwell Banker National Agent Profile page now gets pulled into the CBX app. And so for that picture and any information, it's going to come directly from the Coldwell Banker National Agent Profile page that you have, and hopefully you've got that all updated. And I'll just show you David's really quick so you know what I'm talking about. So there's David Sly. He's our P&B down in our Lake Oswego office. And then this is what his Coldwell Banker National Agent Profile page looks like. So he's got his updated picture, he's got contact information, he's got a little city skinny video uploaded, and then his awards are filled out. There is so much more information available. So if you haven't gone in recently to CB Exchange to update that agent profile in the agent inline editor, make sure that you go in and make sure that all the information is correct and updated and you've filled out that profile as best as you can. The more information, the better. So that's where that picture is coming from. And then as we create a presentation, you'll see the information that's pulling from his agent profile page. So to begin the presentation or building a presentation, you're going to click Add a New Presentation. And then just like the previous version, you'll just add the information for that subject property that you plan on doing the listing appointment for. And one of the things that I like to let everybody know is the CBX app creates these wonderfully done digital listing presentations with information that has been gathered from several different online big data sites that will actually compile a home buyer profile for that particular listing. What it'll also do for the digital presentation that we're about to create is it'll allow you to pull in comp properties to showcase as well. Now, unfortunately, those comp properties are pulling in from different RPR areas, and so some of our Washington branches may not have that capability, since most of the Washington area is using NWMLS and is not supported by RPR, but that doesn't mean that you wouldn't want to still create this listing experience presentation and gather that home buyer profile for your listing presentation otherwise, because the information that's gathered is priceless. It's going to tell you who your buyer is, your most likely buyer is for that listing, where they're located, what they do, what their family looks like, what their likes and interests are. And so that'll really allow you to, one, really target your geographic marketing. So if you're doing a mailer for Just Listed or Open House or Just Sold, the CBX Homebuyer Profile shows you where you should be sending that mailer out so you're not wasting your money. And then it'll also give you the demographics for any social media online ads that you want to place for that listing. So it really helps to focus in on where you should be focusing your time, energy, and money to get the property sold. So just because you're not in an RPR coverage area doesn't mean that you shouldn't go into the app and get that demographic information because it'll really help you out. So I'm going to go ahead and build a presentation. So I'm going to click on Add Photo. You can either take a picture directly from the CBX app or go to any pictures that you have saved in your tablet or mobile device. I'm going to grab that house picture. And then it plops it in there. And what it's going to do is once we start moving forward, you'll see that picture come in a really beautiful large screen background for the first screen that we used for the digital presentation. So you want to be using the most highest quality that you have of the image. Try not to use the low resolution ones, because when you're doing this presentation, if you use the low resolution images, it's going to end up being really pixelated. So I'm just going to fill in information. And then you'll put in your square feet, the number of beds and baths, and click Next. One of the new features on the CBX 3.0 version is the ability to add home assessments to your presentation. So this is where you'll showcase different features of the home that you would like to make sure to include because it makes the home more marketable. So for instance, if I click on Add a New Assessment, you'll see the drop-down list. Excuse me. So you've got curb appeal, paint, floors, appliances and fixtures, lighting, smart homes, cleanliness, and custom. So if there are any features of the home that you wanted to showcase during your listing presentation that you would definitely make sure are part of your marketing on that home, the listing of that home, then you'd come in and you'd enter in whichever feature that is. If it's not listed in the drop-down, you can click Custom, and then it allows you to fill in everything on your own. So for today's example, I'm going to click on Appliances. So say they have a really great brand new refrigerator or something in the kitchen that you want to make sure that anybody coming to look at the house is aware of, that's included in the sale of the home. You can come in and say, okay, they have brand new appliances that were just purchased at the beginning of the year. And then it allows you to also put in a star rating. So you can assign a number of stars between 1 and 5 on what that home asset is. And then you can keep on going, and I believe it allows you to add up to 5 of them. So depending on how many features you want to showcase, you would just continue to add those assessments there. Clicking Next brings you to our next screen. So this is the list price page. It's very similar to the 2.0 version where you could enter in any price adjustments if you'd like. So if somebody maybe just had or did a remodel on the kitchen, they can come in, you can come in and assign a value to that remodel, explaining why this property may or may not, match up exactly with the comps that are coming in by using this price adjustment tool. This is optional. You do not have to use it. If you leave it blank, it's not going to pull up anywhere in our final presentation. So if you're not feeling confident in using these price adjustment tools, you don't have to use them at all. And then set the list price, I'm sorry. So you have 2 options here. You can either give them a direct list price or suggested list price, or you can use a price range. So depending on what you typically do, you can decide on what to put here. And then if you want to use, those of you in the RPR covered zone, if you click View Now, you'll get the National Association of Realtors suggested list price and suggested price range based on information found online. So you can come in and see what they're suggesting. I wouldn't suggest using CBX to replace whatever you're doing for your CMA. So you're probably going to want to create your CMAs before going in and doing your digital listing presentation in CBX. The reason for this is so that you can calculate what you think is going to be that suggested list price or that suggested price range prior to coming in and creating the presentation. This will also give you the comp properties that you want to include in your digital listing presentation. So when we get to that slide, you'll see the list of comp properties available, and if you've already done your homework on your CMA prior to going into CBX, it'll make it a lot easier to select which comp properties you're going to use in the digital listing presentation. So from here, I can either click Use This Price, which will pop that price into our presentation, or I can say Use This Price Range, and it'll pop that price range into the presentation. Or if I already have my number, I can go ahead and say no thanks and close and enter it in on my own. I'm just going to say Use This Price, and now you see that number coming in there. I'm going to go ahead and advance to the next slide by clicking Next. And this is the newest part of CBX 3.0. So because it's designed to be a digital listing presentation, you have several different slides now available, and they're all customizable. Well, most of them are customizable They're all tailored to you. And then you also have complete control over the entire digital listing experience that gets built. You may notice that I'm using the word presentation and experience kind of interchangeably when I'm talking about CBX. And the reason for that is CBX is called the listing experience. When the developers and the creator was putting together and brainstorming what they wanted CBX to do, they knew one thing. They knew that they wanted this to be unlike any other presentation out there. They wanted something that when you walked into a listing presentation appointment and you showed it, you would wow your prospective clients and blow all the other competition out of the water simply by having this tool. So that's why they title it the CBX Listing Experience. I say presentation because that's what we're building, but now you know. Okay, so your list, you have a cover page, an agent profile or agent info slide. You also have a slide for listings, and then company information, a home search information slide, global presence. These two, anything that you see that has a little play sign like a video means that it's an automated slide. So it has really great information that is automated, so you see a lot of great movement in it. It's very attractive. And then your buyer profile slide. So those of you who won't be doing the digital listing experience, presentation, this home buyer profile, this is one of the key slides that you'll want to pay attention to. That's where all that good, juicy information comes together for those demographics that you're going to want to make sure you have to market that listing. So that's that slide. And we'll go through each one of them in just a second, but I just want to make sure you see everything that's available. There's a ton of information in these presentations that gets built. You do not have to use all of them. You can go through and pick and choose the ones that you think are most relevant to the situation or to the listing. Anything that you see a circle like this, anything you see a circle with can either be checked or unchecked. Of course, when you check it, that means that it'll be included in the presentation that we're building. If it's unchecked, it means that it will not be pulled in. So they have several different maps. There's a ton of maps here, guys. There's the buyer profile map, which is really useful. This is going to help really show you where to target that geographic marketing that you'll be mailing out if you choose to do that. And then they also have a neighborhood segmentation map. We'll come back to CB Intelligence in just a second, but they have several different heat maps as well. So homes occupied by owners, change in total population, households that have changed hands, so it's showing the exchange of properties into different owners' hands, average household income, homes occupied by renters. So depending on how you're choosing to really market that listing, you'll come in and select the various maps that you think are going to help you market that home. So obviously if it's an investment property, you may want to target homes occupied by renters to send those non-owner occupied homes information on this investment property. So it's really great that it's giving you the option to pull this into the listing presentation so that when you are at your listing presentation and you're selling what you do to sell a home, you have the options to showcase the information that we can pull that makes us stand out above the competition. So if I haven't said it before, the CBX app was created by a Coldwell Banker agent for Coldwell Banker agents and creates and pulls information for your listing presentations that no other competitor has the ability to do unless going to several of this a ton of different sites to gather that information. So the app does all the hard work for you, making it easier for you to do what you love, which is go out and help people buy and sell their homes. Okay, so there's also a marketing activities slide. This will allow you to showcase and talk about all the things that you do to sell a home, so what your marketing plan is. And as we go through these slides, when you customize them and put all the text in to make it your own, you have the ability to save that as your default information so that you don't have to keep going back in and entering everything in over and over again. So once you go in the first time, set up what your listing presentation is going to look like from now until forever, then it should be pretty easy. It should be relatively easy to go in and plug in your property address, your listing price, your price range, pop in your picture. You should be able to get this digital listing presentation put together and done in under 15 minutes. It shouldn't be super hard because they've automated a lot of the processes for you. So you also have this comparable properties slide as well as this competitive price line slide. So on these two, you'll see when we got there, you'll select the comp properties, and then based on the comp properties you selected, CBX creates this really great graph with the competitive price line built in. So it's going to show a price range for those comps under each status that's available. This is that home assessment tab, so you'll see that in just a sec. And then unlike the previous version of CBX, this version is actually leaving the pricing to the very end. So it'll allow you to build up suspense and kind of support that list price or list price range as you're going through the slides, so that once you get towards the end of the presentation, you'll be able to come in and show them that price display for the range or that specific recommended list price after you've already told them why you feel like this price is the best price to list at. So that's the second to last slide. The very last one is the thank you slide, and it just brings everything back to you, and it gives you a place to stop so that you can continue to talk to the sellers about why you're the best broker to list and sell their home for them. The other thing that this version of CBX has is a customizable slide. So they love getting feedback from everyone, and they've heard what everybody is wanting. And so one of the things that everybody wanted was a way to add their own slide or their customized information to this presentation. And so they've given you a custom slide that you can come in. This picture is customizable. The headline is customizable, and you'll see that in just a second. And then this is actually a text box that you can go ahead and enter anything else in that you would like. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go back up to the very top, and we're going to start by selecting the slides that we want to include in our presentation. So I know that I want my agent info coming in. I want that one. There's also this one on the company information. I'm going to uncheck this, but before I uncheck it, I just also want to point out on your screen, do you guys see these circles? They've added this really cool feature in CBX 3.0 where they've added tooltips to CBX. So if you click on any of those little circles at the end of the slide, it'll give you a video, and I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not.
Looks like we can see it, just can't hear it.
Oh, okay. So unfortunately, I'm sorry you couldn't hear the volume on that, but when you get into the app, make sure that you click on these little tooltips so you can see how those slides are being used by your peers. All right. So our home search.
One quick thing before you leave this page.
Yep.
When you update the information that you can edit for our company information and the agent information, down at the bottom, make sure you hit set as my default. Then that will remain in there, and every time you do a presentation, it will save that information so you don't have to update those slides again unless you need to.
Perfect. And so what Linda's talking about is like slide number 4 is the company information slide. Anytime you see a red circle with an exclamation point, means that there's something missing. So if you're planning on including the slide in the presentation that you're creating, which I have it checked, so CBX is telling me, hey, before you go ahead and build this presentation, make sure that you customize that slide. So I'm going to click on edit. And this is that company information slide. So it has a section for an image of your office if you'd like to include that. And then there's text boxes and information on company statistics. Obviously you want to go in and put the most current information for your company here, as well as any business philosophy, local real estate statistics that you'd like to include, or rapid response information here. When she was talking about set as my default, once you've customized any of the text boxes within the CBX presentation builder, I would click on set as my default content, and that way you don't have to keep entering that information in. So set as my default content will save what you're doing so that it can be used for future presentations. I'm going to go ahead and click next. Our next slide is that home buyer profile slide. While the information that is gathered and put into this home buyer profile section or slide is not customizable, you do have complete control over what you're going to include in that digital listing experience presentation. So based on what CBX was able to find online, and you'll see it's listed up here, but it goes out to various big data sites like Onboard Informatics, Google, Esri, Lead Router, and Experian, as well as the U.S. Census Bureau and other data collection sites to find out what your most likely home buyer looks like. So based on the big data information, it looks like our median age range for this home is 37 years old, with an average education reached of bachelor's degree. Homes with children, there's 36%. Average family size is about 3.5. They have half a kid. And then total population is 18,000. Median income, 23 minutes. Average household income. So you can see that there's a ton of information that they were able to find that's really going to help you zone in and target and focus that marketing for that particular listing. So again, those circles that you see, these orange circles, this is how you include the information in your presentation. I like to remind everybody during class that all of this information is great, but there is no program or online tool that can replace what you as brokers, as area experts, know from your experience as a realtor. So if you see something that doesn't look right to you, or it doesn't seem like that is actually factual, then you don't have to include it. You simply uncheck the box and then it won't be pulled in. So then when you're doing your digital listing presentation, you're not having to say, oh yeah, this program pulled in this number, but I really don't think it's right. So just make sure that you're reviewing all the information that's being presented to you and then decide what you'd like to include on that digital listing presentation. I'm going to go ahead and go in and check all the boxes so then you can see our final report with everything in it. And
also, if you notice at the bottom left-hand corner, there's a little button that says View Source, and that will show you all of the resources that Erica outlined, the onboard informatics and so forth.
And when you get to your digital listing presentation, the one that you'll be presenting to your sellers, you have the ability to click on View Source so that you can show them as well. So when they're asking you, well, that's great, but where does this information come from? You actually have, the source information to share with them as well. So under the local buyer trends, you'll see the top 3 areas moving to the county, as well as the Coldwell Banker buyer inquiry submitted in the last 14 days for the zip code. So this is based on the Coldwell Banker national website. Just so you know where that number comes from. And then over here, this is interesting. So there's, in their buyer trends, they create these zip code profiles for each zip code. So you'll see that they're saying that 22% of people in this zip code are titled Professional Pride, 17%, 17.5% are enterprising professionals, and 16% are soccer moms. When I first got into the presentation and saw this, I was like, well, I don't know what that means. How's anybody else going to know what that means? So they give you these cool little information circles, so you can click on it, and then it'll give you the definition of each one. So it says that our professional pride is consumers are well-educated career professionals that have prospered through the Great Recession. To maintain their upscale suburban lifestyle, these goal-oriented couples work often commuting far and working long hours. However, their schedules are fine-tuned to meet the needs of their school-aged children. They are financially savvy, they invest wisely, and benefit from interest and dividend income. So you can go on and read each one. In our handout section, I believe that I included the profiles for each zip code, so you guys can go through, download that handout and go through and read it. I do want to apologize if you print that handout out. It's in really small font. I pulled it from CB Exchange, and that's the way it came over, so I'm in the process of requesting a better one, but at least that way you can see what their definition is for each one of those profiles. So I'm going to grab that one, and then we'll move on to our next slide. So it's just going to continue to walk you through the rest of those slides that you've selected. CB Intelligence gives you a little more information on that area. So you've got total housing units in that zip code, the average home value, and so on. You'll also see that there's a little icon for you to click on and sign into your LinkedIn account. What this will do is if you sign into your LinkedIn account from CB Exchange, or sorry, CBX, it's going to then be able to pull in more industry-specific information that might be helpful when it's creating this CB Intelligence and buyer profile for you. So if you have a LinkedIn account, it wouldn't be a bad idea to go ahead and sign in from the CBX app. All right, so I'm just going to go through and select the ones that I want to show. Again, make sure that you agree with what you're selecting to pull in so that you don't have to explain why it's not relevant during your presentation. Our next slide is your marketing activities. Again, this is completely customizable. So this default information is being pulled in, and it showcases what you do to market the home. So if there's anything that you don't do, you'd want to go ahead and make sure you take it out of there. So, and then when you're done and you're ready to move on, you can go ahead and click Set as My Default Content. The one thing I do want to point out is you've got two text boxes here, or two columns, what they call them. There's 415 characters available in each box. If you have enough information to fill in both, great. If for some reason you just have this section, that's fine too. Right now, when the slider is pulled over this way, it means that this column is turned off so that information isn't being pulled in. If you needed to fill it in and use all the space available, so you needed to use the 430 for that slide, then I would just slide that slider over, and then it includes both of those columns. So you have the ability to fill in as much information as you can in that 430 character limit. All right. And it usually takes it a second to save it, but once it's saved, it's good to go, and it'll be there the next time you create one. So this is that online presence slide that I've selected to pull in. So it shows where Coldwell Banker on the web is pulling in or being syndicated to. These can all be checked or unchecked, depending on what you want to include. And if you uncheck them, they won't pull into the slide. It's only going to list the ones or show the icons for the ones that you do want to show. And then you also have the ability for any global luxury properties. If the listing qualifies as a global luxury property, you can come in and slide over that slider, and then it'll include the additional places that the global luxury properties get marketed to. So that's there for you. Just want to make sure that before you do that, that property has been approved for global luxury status. And then again, you can set your default content. So this is the comp properties section. So this is where you get to go in and tell them your comp price range. And I don't remember what that was, so we'll just say you're going to fill in your beds and baths. And then you are also going to select the ones that, the different types that you want. So you can pull in the currently on the market for sale. Did not sell is going to show expired. And if you click on the I, it'll tell you did not sell home type can only be added manually. So make sure that if you're including a home that was expired in part of your comps that you know that you have to add that manually. And then you've got recently sold properties and then for rent. So depending on which ones you want to include, you'll go through, check the boxes, and then move forward. So you can also select that did not sell in order to do an individual property. They may not be pulling in on our comp properties list. And when I say that, let me show you how to get to that list. So one of the things that I messed up on when I first created a presentation, I didn't see the Save Filters button down here. So make sure that before you click on Next to get to our next slide, you click on Save Filters. If you click on Next and don't save your filters, it's going to find comp properties, but not in any specific price range or beds and baths and all that other status type. It's just going to go out and do the nearest ones. So you want to make sure that you say Save Filters before moving forward. When you click on the Save Filters button, you then get a comparable homes list. And so unfortunately it looks like it's only pulling in 6. The one that I did the other day had probably 20 of them, but just like the other areas or the other slides, you'll go through and select the circles that you want to include. So you'll notice the list that comes into CBX only has the address, the beds, the baths, square footage, and then either if it's currently on the market, it's going to show you the list price. If it's recently sold, it's going to show you what that home sold for. There's no way to actually click on that property or comp property to get additional information. So you may remember me saying that before you go into CBX to create a digital listing presentation, you probably want to go ahead and do your CMA so that you know which properties that you'd like to include. So this is where you'll go in, match up the properties to the ones that you've got on your CMA presentation. And as you're going through, just something to note, you can choose up to 5 of each category. I'm sorry. So 5 recently sold, 5 for sale, 5 did not sell. So make sure that you keep that in mind as you're selecting them. So if you have more than 5, you want to pick the 5 best ones. And then you also have the ability down here to do Add Customizable Comparable. That will let you put in any comp that didn't come into your list that you may want to include. So you'll have to enter in the address, city, state, and zip, square footage, the price, the beds, the baths, and then you'll also have to put what the status was for that one that you're pulling in. You also have the ability to pull in a picture of that property as well. Okay, so I'm going to do cancel and up to next. Now that I have these selected, anything selected is then going to pull in on your comp property slide so that you can see where those are. So this is that assessment slide that we've already filled out. I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide. We've already filled out our price adjustment page as well, so we'll keep clicking next. And then because I selected the custom slide, it's giving me the ability to come in and build my custom slide. So if you wanted to come in and put in your more information on your custom slide, you can add an image. You can also add a URL for a YouTube video, as well as any text that you would like and a title. If you wanted to showcase your office a little more and maybe you wanted to bring in that city skinny video, you can add the URL here, and then if it's a slide that you're going to be using over and over again, you would click Set as my default, and that slide would be saved for you to use over and over again and not have to rebuild it every time. So I'm going to go ahead and click Done. It takes us back to that list, and so we can review the slides that we've selected to make sure that these are the ones that we want to include. And I think that all looks really good. I'm going to go ahead and go down to the bottom so you can see how to get your presentation. So you can either preview presentation so that you can go directly into that digital presentation, or for those of you who aren't comfortable doing a digital presentation, you do have the ability to export all of those slides as a PDF. And so you click Export PDF. And one of the requests that they got when they were developing this was to make the slides and the exported PDF actually match each other. So all the really pretty visually attractive slides that were being created were then are then able to be printed out so you have them in a printed format. One thing I do want to remind everybody is that because this is a proprietary app and this is information that is only available to us, when you're going in for that listing appointment, I wouldn't leave a printed copy of the CBX digital listing experience behind until you've secured that listing as yours. The worst thing that could happen is that you leave it behind and then somebody from one of our competitors comes in and they decide to use them, and then they hand the CBX digital listing presentation or the printed PDF to the competitor and say, "You're great, but can you use this information that our Coldwell Banker agent found? We really want to use all of this really targeted marketing information." And then you've done all that hard work for nothing. So make sure you don't leave it behind. Once you've secured them as your client, you can go ahead and either email that PDF or send them a copy of it in the mail or whatever. So this is how you export the slides. It lists all of the different pages that are available. The ones that are checked are the ones that I have checked when I created that listing presentation. And so if you wanted to include more, you would go through, oh, it doesn't let you. So you can only control it by the ones that you've checked when you're creating it. So once everything is there, click export. It'll then build that PDF for you, and then it's going to ask you how you want that PDF delivered. It gives you the opportunity to fill in an email address. I would email it to yourself first if you plan on sending it out to anyone, just so you can make sure everything looks okay, because sometimes things don't come through right. Let's see if it takes another second or two.
I think that this is such a good differentiator for our brokers to use, because nobody else has information currently like this, and it's just one more thing that's going to set you apart when you meet with the potential sellers and give them that information. And then as part of your marketing plan, speak to the fact that you know the neighborhood that the likely buyer will be moving from, and you will do targeted mailings to those neighborhoods. I would also recommend that before you need to do one of these, you go ahead and practice a run through and update all of your slides so that you're ready to go when you have your next listing presentation. And as Erica said a couple of times, this is not at all meant to take the place of your CMA. Your CMA, you're working in your local MLS with all of the comp properties in there, and of course you're checking with your title company to make sure that there are no unrecorded sales that you might need to know about, and then you've got the most information. As David Canode asked in the questions, the listings that are shown as sold listings, that's coming from onboard informatics, and so all of the data may not be there when they report those sold properties. And on Coldwell Banker National, they do not have every listing that's in every MLS. They have listings that are Coldwell Banker and Realogy listings, and then if they get a feed from a smaller mom and pop company through a syndication, then they'll occasionally have some listings on there from a one-off Remax here or there. But typically all of the listing information that shows and the sold information that shows on Coldwell Banker is not everything that's in the MLS. So again, you want to make sure that you're doing your proper CMA inside of your MLS and getting the correct data for your information.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. So to view or get to that digital presentation, we just did, I hope everybody saw me email the PDF to myself, and then I'll show you what that looks like in just a sec. But for the digital presentation, you'll click Preview Presentation. And so this is what you'll be presenting during your appointment. So you have a big picture of that home that we were able to upload. You have the title that we did, as well as that address, and then your information that's pulling in from Coldwell Banker National's agent profile page. So again, you want to make sure that that's updated. And I'm going to go over to the little arrow to advance the slide. This information is what pulls in on that agent profile slide or agent information slide. So again, the more you have on your agent profile page on Coldwell Banker National, the more that gets pulled in. And then we're going to advance to the next one. And this is showing the office listings. the one thing I didn't show you, and I skipped over it, I'm sorry, but I can go back and show you in a sec as well, is that you have control over whether your listing slide shows your particular listings or all of the office listings. So if you're a brand new broker that may not have any listings of your own, you can toggle it over so that you're pulling in your office listings or your branch listings, and then it'll bring all of those in on this slide. And this map, when I first saw it, I was like, well, that's really zoomed out. I mean, that home and that office is in the Lake Oswego area, and why is it so zoomed out? So what the app does is it will zoom out enough on the map so that it can include all of those office listings. So you'll see the little turquoise or teal dots show up, and that's why it's so zoomed out. But you can actually, it's an interactive program, so you can actually zoom in by just clicking on the area that you want to zoom in on if you wanted to show how many were in a specific area. And then we'll click the little arrow to move forward. This is the office statistics page, so it has your office information here, and then all that information that I should have customized, but that you're able to customize and update, we'll pull in over here. So you want to make sure that everything is updated before you use this slide, which is why those little red circles are next to that edit button when you haven't updated it correctly. This image is also, you're also able to swap out for a picture of your office if you have a really good picture of your office. And then next, this is that really great animated slide that talks about information used in the home searching process. So percentage of the homes bought based on this type of marketing. So relocation company, television ad, billboard, and so on. And then it cites where they got the information for this graph from. So the 2016 National Association of Realtors profile. And then you'll advance to the next slide. This is probably one of my favorite ones because I think it's really, really pretty. So this talks about Coldwell Banker National as a whole, our global presence, and how or why we dominate the real estate industry. And that'll keep spinning. That world will keep spinning. I don't know what the time frame is on it, but it's quite a while. So if you're stopped and talking or answering questions or anything, it'll keep going. It doesn't time out. And then this is our home buyer profile slide. So this is all that information that I check the circles for to include. So you now see the age range and that entire profile section for the most likely home buyer for this listing or subject property, as well as the local buy trends with the counties most likely to move to the area. The zip code profiles, there's the little I next to it, so you can click on it and explain more. And I wish this was bigger. It'd be nice if it was a little bit bigger because it's kind of hard to read. And then we'll click on to the next one. So this is one of the maps that I selected to include. This is showing where your most likely home buyer profile match is in relation to your listing. And this is actually based on, I'm going to go back so you can see. So where we have the top 3 areas moving to Washington County, the next slide is only showing Multnomah and Clackamas. I probably would show Asia if I zoomed out, but that map is only showing the profile matches in these counties. So if I click over here, you'll see those 2 counties showing. And actually, is that correct? Clackamas and Multnomah, it doesn't look like. So what it should be showing is just Clackamas and Multnomah County. And then the little icons that are popping up, the darker the green the icon is, the more likely the matches. So here's our subject property. And then if I click on one of the icons, it's going to tell me what that zip code is, and then the percentage of match the people in that area are to the home buyer that's most likely to buy the home that you're listing. And then it gives you a breakdown down below. So it's going to show you the age range again, the education, family size, commute time, so more information to help you really target your marketing. And when I click on the next map, or the next slide, this is that CB intelligence information that we selected. And like I mentioned before, you have the ability to show them where the sources come from for all of that information, so you can go over where CBX was able to gather the details. Sorry about that. Okay. This is that marketing activities slide. Because I turned off column number 2, I just have the one box over here. If I had my second column on, it would extend across the entire slide and give you more space to add more information about what you do to sell a home or to sell their home. And then the Coldwell Banker on the web, so the web presence information is showing here. And our competitive price line. So it looks like I must have unselected our comps page, but based on the comp properties that you select to pull in, this competitive price line is going to reflect the prices of those comp properties. So I selected some recently sold ones that range from the 554 up to, it looks like, 550 or 560, and then the currently sold, this was the only one that I had selected. If you had several ones through the 4 different types or the 4 different statuses, remember there was the recently sold, currently on the market, for rent, and then the ones that did not sell, you would have 4 bars showing the ones that you did include. And then I'm going to click to our next slide. This is our home assessment one. So the one that I was able to pop in the picture of the appliances because I wanted to make sure that they knew that they had brand new appliances that had never been used. That's going to show up here. And then our second to last slide is our pricing slide. So this is the picture of the house in the background as well as the picture up here. And then our recommended price as well as the property information. If you had any of the price adjustment information that you had filled in, that would show up down here in that section. And then our final slide brings it back to you and just says, thank you for the opportunity for coming in and letting me tell you how I'm going to sell your house. And so then you can go on and talk about the other things that you do to help sell a home. The one thing that I do want to show you is at the very top, you may have noticed this little down arrow. So if you click on the down arrow, this will allow you to hop to a different slide. So if you go in and you start presenting and they're like, oh wait, can you go back to your home buyer profile slide? If you click on that little down arrow, then you're able to come in and go, okay, so that one was this one. And then when you click on it, it takes you directly to that slide, allowing you to revisit any of the slides in the presentation. All right, I'm going to go ahead and open it up to questions. If you have a question, either type it in the text box. I know Linda's been answering as we've been going, but I'll check and see if we have any that are unanswered. Oh yes, good question. So Kat asked, are you able to change the order of the slides? Absolutely. So I'm going to go back up into my little builder by going up to the arrow and then going to exit. Exit's going to take you back to your slide list, and then on the left hand side where we had preview presentation, you have edit slide order. So you can click on edit slide order. It's going to show you all of the slides that you checked. So you have your orange circle with a check mark box in, and then if I wanted to move my pricing slide to the beginning because maybe that's more your style, you can click on it and simply drag it to where you want it to go. Come on. Of course.
It's probably because you're in the webinar program.
Yeah. I call it demo demons. So anytime I'm going to do a class and the program freaks out on me, it's a demo demon in the background laughing at me. But yes, you should have the ability to go in, click on the slide, oh there we go, and then move it to where you want it to go in that order. And then again, you have the ability to set this as your default. So once you set it as the default, then that's where that slide will live until you move it again. All right. So I'm going to go back to exit presentation. This is going to take us back into our welcome page or first page. So once you've got your digital presentation all built and everything's plugged in, like Linda said, it's a good idea to make sure you play with it, get comfortable with the program, do a couple of different example ones for yourself, and then if you're planning on doing the digital presentation at the listing appointment, I would probably run through it with a buddy or practice on your pet. I know that sounds silly, but the more you say things out loud, the more comfortable you get with your verbiage and the conversation that you're going to have with your clients. I know that sometimes presenting enough is stressful, but then when you add the whole technology component to it, there's a whole nother level of anxiety that kind of builds when you're not comfortable with it. So practice, practice, practice. And then when you're ready to go, get in there and do it for the listing appointment. So this is the one that we just built, the seller's home one, and it tells you last edited and when it was created. You'll click launch. And then it'll take you directly into that digital presentation so that you can go ahead and move through it while you're in your listing appointment. I do have a broker who's been using this pretty successfully, where she goes in, does the digital listing presentation, and then goes over her Toolkit CMA presentation, the paper one, and kind of does a 1-2 combo and how she delivers it. And then if the sellers want her to leave something behind, she leaves the Toolkit CMA printout behind, because all of that information has been pulled from the local MLS area. So your other competitors are delivering the same information via the CMA, but theirs looks a little different because we have a super amazing Toolkit CMA one that will match all of our other great marketing pieces.
There's a couple more questions, Erica.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. How accurate are the maps for the MLS Puget Sound area? Again, Patricia, the information is not coming directly from the MLS. It's coming from other resources through Coldwell Banker. So again, you're going to want to do all of your comps to make sure that you don't miss any property that's in the MLS information, either for active, pending, or sold, or expired for that matter. The information, again, is only coming from those resources, Onboard Informatics, Coldwell Banker National, and we do give a direct feed of all of our listing information to Coldwell Banker, but that doesn't mean that every listing in our area shows on Coldwell Banker. So again, we have other sister companies like Better Homes and Gardens, Century 21. Those listings all do show on Coldwell Banker National. That seems to be a point that people get a little confused on. So this program is not interfacing directly with the MLS to pull in comp properties. It's getting the information from Coldwell Banker. Hope that clarifies that a little bit better. And then let's see, is the information stored on a server? Yes, it is. It's stored on, so whenever you log back in, you can access the presentations you already created. You can either launch those, as Erica just showed you, or you can edit them if you need to add some information or update some information. Let's see. And somebody wanted to see the PDF. Can you show them what the PDF looks like?
Yes, let me pull that up.
The demographic maps, Patricia, those are coming from Esri Research and Onboard Informatics, so none of that information is coming directly out of the MLS.
Okay, so I emailed it to myself. It looks like the presentation is going to come over from cbx.presentation@gmail.com. So if you're watching for it in your inbox, make sure that you're looking for that one. And then this, this is what the PDF will look like. What? That's not right. Sorry, guys. Let me just see if I can do a preview. There we go. And I'll zoom out a little so you can get the full slide.
Can you use the controls at the bottom, or is that what's not working?
That's what's not working.
Maybe you can just scroll through it. There you go. I think it's just a delay because of the we're into a webinar. Yeah.
Okay, so there's page 1, page 2, the office listings. There's our office slide, That automated slide is now just the still of it, which is still really pretty. Home buyer profile, the local buyer trends, your map. So it looks like it opened the, I don't know why it did that one. And then CB intelligence, your marketing activities, your web presence, that competitive price line, home assessments, the price page, and then the thank you message. So you can see that it pretty much matches right on those slides that we used when we were creating everything. All right. The other thing I just wanted to remind everybody is that through CB Exchange, which was formerly CB Works, but if you log into your CB Exchange account and type in CBX into the search bar, you'll see a ton of information available on the CBX platform. And then I've also included in the handouts section of our webinar the CBX FAQs. And so this talks about and answers a lot of different questions about the app and the newly released version. So go into CB Exchange and kind of poke around and see what's available. They also have several CB Exchange webinars available for you guys. So if you want a refresher later on, you can come in and join one of their webinars. And again, CB Exchange is the Coldwell Banker National Portal, so similar to Blue Hive, except everything in it is on the national side. All right, if that's all the questions, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Thank you all for joining us today. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Erica.